I would like to point out a few things. Most of you would know these, but it's very important that you are reminded again, I would say. Before you start traveling, there are certain things you have to do. Notify Department of Foreign Affairs, because if there is anything wrong in a country, political unrest, or when I was in Indonesia, I got an email from them about earthquake. So it's important that they know where you are for your own safety. Notify credit card issuer wherever it is, so it doesn't happen the same as to my brother-in-law who was in Bali, and people in Spain and Italy were spending his money because he gave credit card to somebody, and credit card issuer didn't know where he was traveling. See your doctor before you go if you are fit enough, and what you need to take. If you need to take medication, make sure it's accompanied by a letter from a doctor, because some countries will take the medication away otherwise. And some foreign exchange before you get into the country, because if you end up in airport, they might be closed and the tariff rates are higher than most other places. Packing. Appropriate clothing. Even if you go to Bali, if you go up to the highlands, it's very cold. And if you are visiting temples, churches, mosques, whatever, religious sites, cultural sites, you need to be properly dressed for the local, not for Australian culture, but for theirs. And it has to be respected. Water purifying tablets and anti-diarrhea tablets. Hygiene has improved over the years tremendously throughout Southeast Asia, but there are still times for more delicate people who might have the runs. Money pouch, the one I have is like this. Very useful, very important to have something like this. You put around the neck, under the shirt, so it's not seen. If you carry a day bag, make sure you have it in the front, zips shut, preferably not with buttons, but zipped. Also pockets, if you carry things in pockets. Men in particular, they'll put wallet in the back pocket. That's just as good as giving it away to someone. Make sure you don't take expensive jewelry with you. Also, designer clothes, they disappear very easily, sometimes through the laundry or even in hotels. Now, wherever you see signs like this, please do observe them, because you might get into trouble with police otherwise. And usually you'll find these signs near the pictures of the king or members of royal family. Beware of pickpockets. Now, that happens anywhere where there's a crowd. And it's really common sense. Don't walk through dark alleys. Don't walk late at night through dark places. And if you are on a motorbike, for example, make sure you have your handbag or whatever you carry between the person who is riding a motorbike and yourself, very tight, so nothing is sticking out. But if you are on your own, leave the bag behind. Now, here we went to a restaurant, a couple of people on our tour. There's a bag on a table, bag on a chair, and nobody watching it. They were lucky enough, they were still there when they came back from the toilets. If you travel by train during the night, don't do what our group did, leaving half of the luggage in the corridor, pulling the curtain across, because, again, we were very lucky. No one had any major incidents, but if you leave luggage unattended, you might not find it in the morning. In many countries, Muslim countries in particular, they don't like pork, they don't like alcohol, and they tell you that do observe their wishes, because you are, or we are, in their country. There are lots of things, lots of restrictions. This is in Malaysia. You can't throw rubbish around, no motorbikes, no selling, no walking on flowers, and no love making in a park. They do put signs out where drones are not permitted. Now, there are restrictions in all the countries. Thailand in particular, they are very proud of their country, of their king. King is their god. They've got one national anthem, which is played 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening, and you stand up for it. Whatever you're doing, you stop. The whole country stops for a minute or saw while the national anthem is played. Animals, they're beautiful. Monkeys will scratch, they'll bite. They've got all sorts of bugs. Dogs, they've got lots of diseases, lots of bugs. Do not touch them, don't feed them, leave that to locals, even if you feel they are hungry, but ignore it. They're selling exotic beetles, insects. Some of them are on the way of extinction, and tourists will buy them as a dare. I will eat that. Try not to. Toilets are a big issue in Asia. First, you haven't got toilet paper in many toilets, and they've got two toilets. One is the Western, one is the squat. And Western sometimes is a lot worse than the squat one. Be prepared for that. Use toilet wherever you can, and have toilet paper with you. Alcohol, stick to beer, which is very safe, very cheap. Tuk-tuk or other transport, make sure you agree on a price before you get into it. It's better if two people travel together and arrange the price and the destination before you sit in it. Drunken parties, which does happen anywhere and everywhere, observe from a distance if it's safe to get closer, otherwise stay away from it. If there are children involved, don't go there and start patting them on the head. You little boy, what are you doing that? Because heads are sacred and you do not touch them. Money exchange. They cheat out in the street. Banks are fine. So always count the money in the front of the person who had changed the money, and make sure that the person is watching you counting. And they do apologize. They say, how did that happen? And you will get the rest of the money. If you're going on a water, boats, ferries, whatever, demand life jacket. Read the signs. If you don't know what they mean, ask the locals. They will, in here, for example, you've got it written in English as well, Portuguese. Jellyfish, which you do not treat with vinegar like you do in Australia. And see if locals are swimming. If locals are swimming, it should be okay. But tourists, don't depend on them that they know. You can read that yourself and don't argue with them. You don't have to tell them what they don't see, what they don't know. It won't hurt them. This is in a temple. They do promote you, for you to light the candle for the one you love or the one you lost. And they appreciate that because that's their income. In temples, as I said, most of them are free, but again, be respectful to their culture. Buddhism is a very beautiful religion or philosophy of life, really. Silence is appreciated. If you sit down and meditate, make sure you don't point your feet towards Buddha or towards the front. And again, properly dressed is important. Don't take photo of him or of that person too obviously, because he will ask, or she will ask for money. Quite often you'll find in the countries, policemen love to have selfie taken with you. And when you take your selfie with a policeman or an official, they will ask for money. Again, you made a mistake, pay for it. Instead of arguing, you don't argue with the police or officials. If you hire a bike to ride around, check with your insurance first. Most insurances will say it's okay if you have a motorbike license in Australia. If you haven't, you're not insured. And if you drive a car, make sure you know where you're parking. Read the labels, and if you can't understand, ask locals if you can park there. Otherwise, you'll have some difficulties of getting car out. And have a happy travel and come back home safe. Enjoy yourself.